أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد وعلى إطرة الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجهم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. In preparation of the Wiladat of Imam Ali Raza, which is coming up in a few days, I thought it would be a good idea to go back to basics and this time look at the fiqh rules of traveling, because as we know, Imam al-Islam was forced to travel from his hometown in Medina to Khorasan in Iran by the Caliph Ma'mun at the time. So hopefully by the time we get to his Wiladat day, inshallah, we will know the fiqh rules of traveling and we can honor him with that on his Wiladat day, inshallah. So let's get into it straight away. So there are specific conditions that have to be attained for us to become travelers. The first one is that the journey must be greater than 8 farsakh, which is equal to 44 kilometers or 27.5 miles. And this is the full journey, the round trip from from my hometown out and back again. It should be 8 farsakh or more. And the intention of the traveling must be from the beginning of the journey. So I should have the intention to travel from when I leave home or when I leave Hadar Tarakus. And if I haven't made that intention, then even if I have traveled more than 8 farsakh, it will not be accepted. The intention must also be firm. It mustn't be changed on the way. Wherever I travel to, I must make sure that I'm not staying there for 10 days. And we will look into more detail what that means. But if I do stay there for 10 days or more, then I will not be given the rights of a traveler. The traveling itself must not be for any unlawful purposes. So, for example, I mustn't be going to maybe do some sort of illegal business deal, or for stealing or gambling or an illegal affair according to Sharia. So if there is any unlawful purpose that this traveling is for, then I will not be given the rights of a traveler. If I commit a sin or a disobedience on the way, that is different. And again, we'll look at these in a lot more detail. If I'm considered as a nomad, which would be a modern day gypsy, so someone who doesn't have a home as such, but they travel from one place to another, carrying all their belongings, so actually moving home from one place to another all the time, would not be given the rights of a traveler. Given the rights of the traveler. I mustn't be a frequent traveler, so someone who's called a kathira safar, which means that they travel a lot. So according to Aga, this is 10 days in a month on average, or that would be considered as 120 days within the year. And the journey itself begins from what is called the permitted limit, which is Hadar Tarakus. This is not the city limit. The city limit is the outskirts of the city. The permitted limit is where you end up, where you cannot then hear the adhan of the city or see the houses of the city. And we'll look into more detail practically what does that mean for us living in London. So if we can break these 8 into 3 different groups, it will make it a little bit easier. So the first group is intention, where we'll look at the commencement of the intention and how the intention has to stay the same throughout. And then the second group will be journey, where we'll look at the commencement of the journey, the distance of the journey, the duration of the journey, and the purpose of the journey. And the final group is the person themselves, the traveler, whether they are a nomad or a frequent traveler, and what that means. And so each day we will be looking at each one of these sections, inshallah. So finally, to finish off with, what does it mean that we are a traveler? What rights do we have? So a traveler is someone who must pray qasr, which means that they break their 4 rakat salah into 2 rakats. I don't have a choice in this. Once I'm considered as a traveler, then I have to pray a 2 rakat salah instead of my 4 rakats. So every Zuhur, Asr and Isha will be prayed as a 2 rakat salah. So I will make the niyat of qasr and I will pray a 2 rakat salah. There is no qasr for Fajr and Maghrib, so therefore I do not make a niyat of qasr. I would just pray my Fajr and Maghrib as normal. And this is when I pray, not where the time sets in. So it may be, the time may have set in while I was at home, but I didn't pray till I reached wherever I was going, and that was considered as 8 farsakh away as a round trip. So then I would pray qasr, although it was full when the time set in. So it's wherever I pray rather than when the time sets in. And it's the same for where it becomes qaza. So it's wherever it becomes qaza is the qaza that I will pray. Qaza means that I did not pray it in the allocated time that was given to me. So if my Zuhur time sets in at home and I decide I'm going to pray when I, for example, reach Birmingham. Now something happens and on the way I get held up or something and I don't pray it. I reach Birmingham and it becomes in its qaza, then I am expected to pray qasr of qaza. So even if I don't pray the qaza then and I pray it when I come back home, I will still have to pay 2 rakat qasr qaza because it was qasr when it was qaza. In the same way, if I have qaza from home and I want to pray them back when I'm traveling, I would pray the full qaza. I do not pray qasr qaza because it was qaza when it was full when I was in my hometown. When it comes to praying, having a choice, I have a choice to pray qasr or full in the city of Makkah, the city of Medina, and the city of Kufa. I also have a choice to pray qasr or full around the Zari area of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and Aga has said that is roughly around 11.5 meters away from the sacred grave. Now, within the ladies, practically, that is not possible. It is not possible to pray any kind of salah in that area. But within Makkah, Medina, and Kufa, we can choose to pray qasr or full. Obviously, it is better to pray full, but it's a choice that we have. If I am not sure whether I should be praying qasr or full, if I'm not sure if I'm a traveler, if I'm not sure I've actually traveled as far as I'm supposed to, if I'm not sure of the rulings, then I would always take it back to certainty, which was that I'm not a traveler, and I would always pray full. If I make a mistake, if I'm not sure of the ruling and I've done it wrong, as long as I realize and there is still time for me to pray that salah, then I would re-pray the salah as qasr. So if I've prayed it as full because I wasn't sure and I took it back to certainty and I prayed it as full, but then I realized that I did wrong, as long as the salah has not become qaza, I would re-pray that salah as qasr. If that salah has become qaza, then I'm not expected to give a qaza of it, because I've already prayed it according to what I thought was the right thing to do. The only time I would have to give qaza qasr is either I intentionally prayed full when I knew I should have been praying qasr, or I was careless and I prayed full when I should have prayed qasr. Whereas if I have prayed qasr and the duty on me is to pray full, then whether I remember in time or outside of time, I have to pay back the full. So that's important to remember. Another right of the traveler is that they're not supposed to fast. They cannot fast when they're traveling. So although I can pray full I have the choice to pray full in Makkah, Medina, and Kufa, I cannot actually fast in those cities because I do not have to pray full. I have a choice, and it's only when I have to pray full then I can fast. So here I don't have to pray full. I have a choice. So I cannot fast. The other ruling that I must remember when it comes to fasting, and inshallah when we look at the rules of fasting, we'll look at this in more detail, but the main ruling is that if I am in my hometown at Zuhur, then I can fast on that day. So if I want to travel, either I make sure that I come back before Zuhur to my hometown, or I leave after Zuhur from my hometown. And that way, then I can fast on that day. So much so that if I am traveling back home from abroad, and I reach home before Zuhur, so say for example Zuhur is at 1 o'clock and I reach home at 12:45, then because I have reached home before Zuhur, and if I have done nothing to break my fast while I was traveling, then I'm expected to fast on that day. So although I was a traveler from Fajr all the way to 12:45, I still have to fast on that day if I've not done anything to break my fast. If, however, I ate something or drank something between the time of Fajr and reaching home, then I've not done anything wrong, and obviously I cannot fast on that day because my fast was broken. This is important to remember when we actually travel in order to break our fast. So if for example, I'm not sure whether it is the day of Eid, and I don't want to do a haram action by fasting on the day of Eid, and I also don't want to do a haram action by leaving a fast of my Ramadan, so I'm torn on what to do, and I really cannot figure out whether it's the day of Eid or not. I have the choice to travel. Now if I travel, as soon as I am 4 farsak away from Hadr Tarakus, then I am a traveler. and then I travel back. So I'm traveling. Now, if I traveled 4 farsak there and 4 farsak back, but I didn't actually break my fast while I was a traveler, while I was outside of Hadrat Tarakus, then I'm still expected to keep that fast. So I need to make sure that I eat or drink something in order to break my fast when I have left Hadrat Tarakus before I return back into Hadrat Tarakus. The other thing that Aga also tells us is that as travelers, we must not pray the nafila of Dhuhr and Asr. If we want to, we can pray the nafila of Isha, but we should pray it with the intention of Raja, which means that inshallah Allah will accept it from us, that inshallah it is something that Allah desires from us. I hope this has made it a little bit easier, and we will look at the rules in a little bit more detail in the next few days, inshallah. So please join me tomorrow to look at the rules in a little bit more detail, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.